Welcome, everybody, to WagerTalk Today. I am Lawrence Presman, and you people are watching the best daily all sports betting show on the planet. And I really appreciate you guys taking your time out of your day to be with us. We've got a great show, a lot of sports betting information to coming at you. Adam Trigger will be on first. He's going to talk about the Steelers, whether they're going to go over or under on their season win total of 8.5/9. He's also going to look at the White Sox and Yankees. And then we've got Tony Finn coming on. He's going to take apart the Tigers and Royals game. As well, he's going to look at the Toronto Blue Jays versus the San Diego Padres game as well. And we're going to end the show with Nick Borman. It's going to be a lot of golf. The British Open starts tomorrow. I'm really excited about it. Can't wait to hear what he has to say. He's got a huge dog for you guys as an outright winner. And we're going to do our betting strategy section. We got a great question from Jeff Todd that we're going to take apart. And actually, Tony Finn will be helping me with this. We're going to look at how to use umpires in your handicapping in baseball. So that's the show. Adam Trigger, right off the bat. How are you, my friend? What's going on?
Not too bad, Prez. Hanging in there. It's been a great sort of start to the second half for me in Major League Baseball. Won again last night with the Diamondbacks. And I have to be honest, I couldn't even comprehend what I was watching there for a while last night. But it was a 16-13 final if you missed it. And Arizona did get the win.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's been great out of the second half for me. And just kind of keep plugging along here.
At second time in history that I think 12 teams went over 10 runs in one day. Second time in baseball history. So the idiots who took unders yesterday, i.e. this guy, did not have a good day. I had the under first 5 in the Mets game. Didn't make it out of the second inning. The one good thing was I never had to look again for the rest of the night, and I was able to play hockey. I had a 10:30 game. We lost in overtime, was gripping. But yeah, a lot of balls flying out of the park yesterday, Adam. Does that factor into your handicapping for today at all? I mean, is there some kind of situation where, you know, we had 1 million overs yesterday. Today we'll look at the unders, or the hitters are hitting well. Let's stick to the overs. Do you look at that stuff in your handicapping?
I mean, I don't play a ton of totals, so it's like it's less sort of relevant to me. I did talk about on the baseball show earlier that I like the under in the Dodgers game, but not really for those reasons. I will point out, so like during the broadcast last night, Arizona Braves Diamondbacks broadcast, the announcers kept commenting that it just felt like everything was flying out of that ballpark. So yeah. I mean, I know it was very humid there, and I guess it's something to take into consideration if you're going to play a total. I don't play many totals, at least not as client plays. It's just I'm more of a side handicapper when it comes to baseball, so might mean something more for someone else. It's certainly like something to consider. Like, obviously, if I'm going to get involved in Coors Field, I always I want to like take that into consideration, but. Yep. Generally not something I put a ton of stock into.
Yeah, me either. I don't look at that kind of stuff as well, but I mean, it would be interesting to ask Ralph that type of a question where, what's
the next day?
Yeah, what happens the next day? And those things are so important. So many of the amateur handicappers and sports bettors and so many of these young kids who are doing videos today, a lot of them really look at stuff very simplistically. We have to go deep into the numbers. It's hard to win in this game. And if you can find an edge anywhere, I mean, for instance, the topic we're talking about. Yeah.
Can I just say something about that? Because that's a great point. So you just brought up you made me think about something that is really important when it comes to that. Whether it means something or not, the books will adjust after a day like yesterday. So without a doubt, like regardless of what's going to happen today, a lot of these totals are going to be tweaked a little bit, and they're going to be shaded toward the over because there was just a million runs last night, and Prez just kind of outlined how the average person is going to look at this. So on a day like today, I would suggest looking at unders or maybe not playing totals because what you can know, what you will probably not get great over numbers on a
Yeah.
day where there was just widespread scoring the night before. So that I think
Yeah.
you can take in your handicapping. Now, game to game, I'm not sure if there's much meaning, but like across the board, some of these totals are going to be a little bit inflated today, and so maybe it is a spot, to pick and choose your spots with unders. But that's just kind of a widespread observation, less like game to game.
Right. Adam Trigger joining us, everyone. One of the best handicappers out there, an incredibly talented sports bettor. Number one most profitable sports bettor in the last 365 days. I happen to be number two, which I am thrilled about. So I can only imagine. Dude, that is not easy to do. I mean, think about the talent that we have at WagerTalk. From Dave Coca to Ralph Michaels, Marco D'Angelo, Gianni. I mean, Nick Borman, Tokyo Brandon, Carmine, Brian Leonard, Jimmy. You go on. We got 35 unbelievable world-class guys, and you kicked all their asses.
Well, I feel like I'm just keeping the spot warm for a minute for Gianni because, like, if you look at like his calendar year this year, when like one bad month falls off, he'll probably be number one. But like you said, it's hard to win just in general. Forget being 1, 2, 3, it doesn't matter. It's hard to win, and we've got a group of people that manage to win. So it's winning at this is very difficult. Is the main sort of point I guess I'm trying to make,
to say the least. Well, let's get into some actionable information, and we're going to start right off the bat with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers, they're in a hell of a division, brother. I'm not going to sit here and say is the best division in football. It isn't, but it's certainly, I would argue, the most competitive division in football. No reason to think Cincinnati won't win that division. We've already had people come on this show with Baltimore Ravens, liking them a lot moving forward. Cleveland Browns have a lot of excitement heading into the season. Deshaun Watson finally will be ready, so to speak, to start the season. And they've got a great running game, an incredible defense. And then you got the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that I think is they're keeping to their identity. But for me, Pickett looks good. I'd like to see them this year, see what they do before I'm ready to go over or under on them. You, however, are ready to bet them right now. So fill us in.
Well, Prez, I want to start with just a couple comments about the AFC North. I do think that this might be the best division. I think you really set that up like perfectly. Like as far as like top to bottom talent in this division, like I think the Ravens are the worst team in this division, and I still think they're a pretty solid team. Like I like that team, and I still have them 4-4 in this division, and I bet the Browns to make the playoffs. So this is only the third season-long football bet I've made so far. Browns to make the playoffs was one, and Akron over season win total being the other. I took the Steelers over the 8.5 wins. I laid a little juice here. It's 9 some places now. I bet this a few days ago. And even if you can find 9 at plus money, I don't hate that. That just means if it lands 9, you're going to have to, settle with a push. But at least if you're getting plus money there, that's not the end of the world. I do think the Steelers will have a winning record this year, which is why I was, willing to lay the juice on 8.5 because I feel like that, they get to 9-8. 9-8 means winning record. Winning record means I win the bet, and they've never had a losing record under Mike Tomlin. And I certainly think this year's team is better than last year's team. So, I think Kenny Pickett improves. I think last year was kind of bonus football for him. You go back to the beginning of the season, it was supposed to be Trubisky. We didn't know how long it was supposed to be Trubisky for, but he kind of, they kind of went to Pickett quick. And I think that's really important because he got to play games that I don't think, they're meaningful games, but I think the message probably internally to him was like, go out, play, make mistakes, get your reps, and so on and so forth. So I think he'll take that experience into this season and improve on his season from last year. Another reason I think he's going to improve is the Steelers really improved their offensive line. I talk about it all the time on these shows. I love teams with good offensive lines, and the Steelers definitely improved theirs from last year. Not only is that going to help Kenny Pickett, I think that helps Najee Harris, who was, I would say regressed a little bit last year. And it probably had a lot to do with the fact that he didn't have, great guys blocking for him. But they've improved upon that in the draft and in the offseason. So that should be better as well. Pickett's got some weapons. George Pickens is kind of emerged as a number one guy as far as the receiver position is concerned. And then you go to the defense. That team, like, they lost games. I would say there's direct correlation between TJ Watt being hurt and them losing games last year. Because when he was healthy, they were really good. And I like what they did in the draft. Joey Porter Jr. gets a deep, first round defensive player in the draft. So I think they improved their defense as well. And you talk about getting to 9 wins. It's a pretty manageable schedule, Prez. I mean, they've got Cardinals. They play the North, the AFC North, or I'm sorry, the AFC South. So you're getting games against the Texans, Colts, Titans. Sure. They got Cardinals on the schedule, Raiders on the schedule. So it's reasonable in my opinion. And in these divisional games, as good as the division is, I mean, every year we see a lesser team in this division have a home game against the Bengals or the Ravens, and they're always good games. So you're not, I don't buy that they're just going to be totally overmatched in their division. I think, like you said at the top, the division's very competitive. So it's a winning organization, Prez. The Steelers, even when they're bad, they seem to find a way to be not horrible, right? And now I think they're kind of good, and I think they've improved on last year. I see this team with a winning record, and I'll take the over 8.5. If you have to go over 9, make sure you get plus money. But this team could be pretty good.
Look, Ad, I can't get to the window on your bet. I look at this and I think to myself, at best, they go 3-3 in the division. Let's say they lose 3 games to Cleveland, Baltimore, and Cincinnati. So take those 3 games right out of the equation. They're now down to 14 games. Can they go 9-4 in those 14 games? I just can't get there with you. I'm not suggesting it's a bad bet. I think it's going to be somewhere around 8-9. I just need a bigger window if I'm going to put my money down. I need to feel comfortable that we can get to 10.
Well, I mean, if they go 3-3 in the in the division, they only need to go 6. Right. So here's the thing, though, Prez. Going to Pittsburgh and winning games is not easy, right? So, like, 3 of those divisional games are going to be home games, and winning there is not easy. Winning there in December is not easy, right? Like, especially if you're a team that isn't totally used to the climate. You get some snow, something like that. So, I mean, they always have kind of an advantage at home, natural grass surface. A lot of these teams now are playing on are playing on turf. At least, outdoor. I got to double check the surface there. I still think it's grass. I know some of these teams rip it out and go turf. But even so, like, there's elements there, right? Like, look at, kickers struggle at Hinesville, Acrisure, whatever it is now. I'll always call it Heinz Field, probably. But they struggle there because the climate, the weather, it's a tough place to win. So they're going to have games in the division like that are going to be difficult games. And then you look at the teams they're playing outside of the division. It's not that difficult. I mean, the schedule's not bad. So if you do go 3-3 in the division, and then you get 6 wins in the remaining, whatever it might be, you got to take 6 games out of there. So 11 games. You go 6-5 in the remaining 11 against what I consider to be a pretty manageable schedule. I think it probably lands right around there, 8, 9, 10 wins, but again, there's a culture of winning there, and with Mike Tomlin, and I think with an improved team, he just finds a way to win more than he loses. So That's kind of
Right.
why I played the 8.5. I'll be shocked if they don't get to 9.
Adam Trigger joining us, everyone. Number one most profitable handicapper at WagerTalk over the last 365 days. We got the Mets tonight. They're playing the White Sox. And man, I mean, okay, sure. They've won 2 games in a row, the Mets. Big whoop. This is a team that has to be feeling pretty shitty about themselves. They came in with such high expectations and really just can't get out of their own way. They are sending Verlander to the mound. And I took the under in the last Verlander game. He played the Dodgers with Urias on the mound. I took under in the first 5. And I'm telling you right now, Adam, that is my second favorite play on the board today. I like the under again, first 5 in this game. Toussaint versus Verlander, both pitchers that are pitching well, and neither of these teams can light it up. Okay, sure, the Mets won 11-10 yesterday. Before that, 2-1, 0-2-1. I love the under first 5 here. I'm betting it personally. What are you doing in this game?
So, Prez, I don't disagree with you there. I don't think we're going to get another 11-10 type game.
No.
And of course, you're getting a little bit, you might be getting like an extra half run of value off of that 21 run outburst last night. So I can't disagree with you on that. Let's start with the pitching. We'll start with Verlander. He's been better of late. You go back to his last couple starts, he's been better. But the thing that concerns me with him is the 6 walks last time out, and just sort of the lack of command in general. The walk rate for him is up. It's his worst walk rate since 2017, which was his final year in Detroit. Which, if you go back to that year, people were starting to kind of write Verlander off a little bit, and then of course he ends up in Houston and has this like big resurgence. But this season for him is profiling a lot like that 2017 outlier year. So that's like, I guess my thing here is I just like the books are pricing Verlander as an elite option, being minus 200 at home. And I just don't agree with the pricing. It's not that I don't think that Verlander's bouncing back a little bit. I just don't think right now, based on how he's pitched and the fact that he's struggled with the command and the 6 walks last time out, that he could possibly be priced as an elite option. As far as Toussaint, I definitely think he helps your under here. And part of the reason I like the White Sox is because, he shows flashes of being really good at times. Like, he's definitely been a better reliever than a starter throughout his career. But last couple times out, 10.1 innings in his last 2 appearances, both 5 plus, or 5 and 5 plus, only 3 earned runs. The Mets didn't see him a ton, despite the fact that he was on the Braves for the most of his career. I mean, he's only got 2 starts against the Mets, 5 appearances. So there's not a ton of familiarity there. Now, on the other side, the White Sox have seen Verlander quite a bit, because Verlander was an American League guy for his whole career up until this year. So they're in my opinion, they're seeing a worse Verlander than they saw all those years with the Astros. So the one other thing that puts me on the White Sox here, though, is the Mets probably should have won that game a lot easier than they did yesterday. And because they didn't, and because their back end bullpen guys, Trevor Gott, their new acquisition, got blown up, they had to use Brooks Raley, they had to use Adam Ottavino, they had to use Drew Robertson to close out the game. And the Mets don't have a ton of bullpen depth. So in a game where they led big, to have to go and have to burn like all 3 of those high leverage arms, not to say they can't come back today, but still had to use them, I think gives the White Sox a little bit of a late inning advantage. And then, of course, when you're talking plus 1.5 betting, and you can get the road team, Prez, you get that extra at bat, right? The Mets are going to have to beat you by 2 or more, essentially in 8 at bats. So it didn't make my client card yet. I kind of want to see lineups here first, but I do lean toward the White Sox. I think Tukey gives you a decent start and helps you cash your under. And White Sox plus 1.5 here. It's a game that they can win. These 2 teams are pretty even. You're getting a run and a half. You're getting it at minus 110 odds, which is very reasonable for a plus 1.5. I just think Verlander's priced as an elite option, and I don't consider him an elite option right now. So I think there's some value there. White Sox on the run line.
Adam Trigger, everyone. When I think of Justin Verlander, here's what comes to mind. Would you rather have 250 wins, Hall of Fame record, 3 World Series rings, or Kate Upton?
Prez, I take Kate Upton because honestly, it's a young man's game right now. I take one of these young pitchers. I just don't think you're going to see 40-plus-year-old pitchers put up numbers like Wainwright had a random, unreal year at 40. Verlander, it's tough, man. You go back through the years, right? Like how many guys are aces still at 40? I think it was a little bit of an aberration. So I'm kind of fading some of these older guys at this point. So
yeah,
my thoughts there.
I'll give up a career in anything for Kate Upton. Adam, what do you got to promote?
So I don't have a play yet for today. Closest I am is with the White Sox, which I just talked about, and like maybe one other angle. But we've got a great special going right now. It's the rest of July for $99. That covers my MLB and my KBO, which comes back on Friday. So you'll get a bunch of plays, and I've got some spots I really like this weekend. So if you're looking for like the 5%ers, they're probably coming up in the next few days. It's a great and I think it's good for any handicapper, so not just for me. Everyone should have that up on their page. But it's the rest of July for $99, and you know I'm having a really good run out of the break, and I hope to continue it through the end of this month.
Yeah, guys, play Adam Trigger if you want to make some money. Awesome stuff. I want to welcome everybody into the chat room. D. Raven, Key, Rabatic, Javier, Raven, Ron, always here. We love you, man. Better Half, Reed, etc. Really appreciate when you guys take time out of your day, D Nasty, etc., to join us. It means a lot to me and WagerTalk, so thank you for that. As well, before we bring Tony Finn on, I want to shout out Andrew McGinnis. Andrew has won 6 5% plays in a row. Today he goes for his 7th. It is in baseball. He's got a 5% play up. Make sure to take advantage of that. And Tony Finn, man, up 31.78 units in his last 23 days in baseball. He's just killing it over the last month in all sports. 6-1 in his last 5 big ticket plays. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Tony Finn. Tony, what's up, bro?
It's a good day. Woke up, my mantra. Nice, cool day.
Your
here.
mantra is pathetic, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I've known you for like 15 years, and every time I say to you, "Hey, Tony, how are you?" You're like, "I'm great. I woke up today." Tony,
it's true.
Never judge yourself against the bottom of the barrel. Waking up is not what judge yourself against the best, not the worst. Anyway, brother, welcome to the show.
Okay.
We got to get moving.
Thank you.
I'm loquacious. Adam's loquacious. At least you and Nick will be much better in that regard. So, Tony, today we got the Tigers playing the Royals. Now, both these teams absolutely stink. However, the Tigers are much better, 42-52 record. The Royals right now are historically bad, 28 wins, 68 losses. Ryan Yarborough versus Rodriguez on the mound. I mean, Rodriguez, 2.7 ERA, 1 whip. Yarborough's 5.3, terrible numbers. Curious as hell where you're going in this game.
Going south of the odds makers total, which right now is 8.5. I don't expect it to go any lower than 8.5. It may go to 9 just because it's Eduardo Rodriguez and Yarborough. But truth is, Erod's been pretty good over the years. This guy's not a young kid. He's not a prospect coming up. If you look at some of his numbers, especially his metrics, his sabermetrics, his underlying peripherals, his hard contact, X velocity, always have been really good. He doesn't throw the ball very hard. He's 92 miles an hour is really where he tops out at in his 4-seamer, and his 2-seamer about 92 miles an hour. But as long as he's mixing in his 3rd and 4th pitches, second, third, and fourth pitches, he's pretty tough to hit. And you've seen that sometimes this year when he's healthy, and you'll see it with the Royals. He's the kind of guy the Royals struggle with. The Royals have an unusual kind of a meaningless batting average or hard contact. They rank in the top 5 hard contact, Prez, but they rank in the top 2 of worst teams in baseball. Oakland may be the only team that will be worse at the end of the year, right? I hope so, because that's what I have for a prop or a future bet. So that said, Brian Walsh behind the plate, really a young kid, young umpire, millennial, Prez, big strike zone. Both of these guys have advantages tonight. Yarborough, real good after getting hit in the face. Remember back in May, he got hit in the face with a line drive. Came back last start, was terrific. Nothing fantastic, but 6 innings, 1 run, struck out 6, struck out 5, walked 1. And Erod, this is a tough task for the Royals, this lefty. And how they ended up beating Detroit yesterday is kind of a surprise to me. I don't expect it today. I expect a low-scoring game in the heat and humidity of Kansas City.
Yeah, Tony, I'm with you on that. I like the under as well. I prefer the under on the first 5, but I understand on the game that bullpens do worry me, bro.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Now Detroit's not poor. The Royals, the worst bullpen in baseball. I agree.
Tony Finn joining us, everyone, as we spoke about, absolutely rolling in baseball right now. $100 bettors have made over $3,000 in profit over the last 23 days. Tony, let's turn our attention to the Blue Jays. And look, I'm looking to bet this team every night. I kept myself off of them yesterday because I just needed to see what Alek Manoah would do. He got unlucky, Alek. It was not as bad a performance as the score suggests. He did walk 5 batters, which shows he's not back in form. But man, he got just robbed on 2 strikeouts that would have prevented a lot of runs. And then, of course, Springer with an error. Now we've got Borrman on the mound, and Borrman has pitched outstanding this year. He's pitching against Yu Darvish. Darvish is mediocre at best, although coming out of a really nice start last game. Where are we going in this one?
We're going to go, I'm doing a same game parlay. They're not necessarily directly correlated, but both of these teams are not big first inning scoring teams. I'm going to connect the two. Connect Berrios, as you just outlined. Been really good. Back to his days, his peripherals, his numbers of when he was with Minnesota. He didn't have the greatest year last year. A lot of that had to do with swings and misses, Prez. He just wasn't, he had 11% swing and miss, up to 13% this year. And along with that really cures a lot of ills in this day and age of baseball. So what I have is a no run first inning with these two, and just a money line play on Berrios pace plus 225. That's I like Berrios at minus 115. Maybe it's good enough for some people. I'm going to throw the no run first inning in and get my plus 225.
Tony Finn, everyone, outstanding work. Tony, what do you got going for the clients today?
I have a 3-game pack. It has 2 props, 3 game positions, 2 props, 1 same game parlay. You get all of them for $15 only at WagerTalk.
Nice stuff. Guys, Tony Finn is going to stay with us. We're going to go right into betting strategy with Teddy and the Prez, although no Teddy. It's going to be with Tony and the Prez. Dan, put up the question for today. So Jeff Todd asks, how do you use MLB umpires in regards to sides and totals? Now, guys, this is right inside of Tony's sweet spot. Tony, I'm going to let you handle this question.
Well, it's a trick question anyways, because if I have the information and the intel, and I do have some sources, but for the most part, you can get the information. Sometimes it's not until, if it's the first game of a series, you may not get them for 3 or 4 hours till before the game, once they announce who the crew is. And even then, sometimes when they announce who the crew, they don't tell you which of the crew members is going to be behind the plate first game. You can find that out from the last time the crew worked. You really can. If you do your homework and you do due diligence, you'll find it. But umpires, if someone tells you umpires, Lawrence, do not really have that large of an effect or influence on a game, you mentioned today when you said that the Jays and Manoah got 2 horrible calls from an umpire, right? It matters. It matters big time if you have a hitter-friendly umpire or a pitcher-friendly umpire. And it absolutely will get me off games. And it will absolutely get me on games. Now, I could go into it, and we don't have time for that. We have 15-minute, 30-minute conversation on how I grade umpires and et cetera, et cetera. But my numbers, surprisingly, in totals, are a complete wash. Lifetime at WagerTalk, I'm a wash with totals. My sides, not including my spreads, but my sides they're up about 109 units lifetime. And that's using umpires, guys. It's using umpires. Umpires fit certain pitchers too, and if you know that, those are the kind of things that you can't find anywhere. No one writes about it, but those of us who experienced with umpires and have used them for years and years know which ones fit which pitchers. But that's the answer to that BS question.
So Tony, you mentioned, in your breakdown on the Tigers game, this umpire has got a big strike zone. So
Brian
ultimately, so you're looking at Walsh, you're like, he's got a big strike zone. Therefore, you're thinking unders in that regard, and a person with a small strike zone, you're thinking more overs. So you have a list of all of these umpires and what their tendencies are, right?
I do. And I'll give you an idea. Now, the caveat here is that Brian Walsh is a young millennial, doesn't have a lot of experience behind the plate, but he had a lot of experience in minor leagues. I have those numbers too. But if you know who, and everyone listen to this is pretty good. Right now, it's free. Dan Merzel is the best strikeout umpire in baseball, bar none. He has the highest K rate and he has the lowest walk rate. Top 10% in both of those, up and down, as the season goes along. But both of those, and when you see that strikeout props, over, walk rates, under, and totals, under. And Walsh has metrics much like Dan Merzel. So that gives that gives it away, right?
There you go, Tony Finn, everybody. Yep. Awesome stuff, Tony. Thank you for joining us. Keep running hot for our clients. Guys, we're going straight into the open. Nick Borman joining us. Nick, I got some news for you, but how are you, bro?
I'm doing great, man. It's a bittersweet time of year. It's the last major of the year, which is awesome, but it's also sad because, it's kind of over already. It went quick, but I'm excited.
Yeah, don't worry, dude. The tennis U.S. Open is in September. You'll be fine. We'll make it there. It'll be okay. Plus, you got the Women's World Cup started yesterday. Canada starts their first game tomorrow, minus 280 against Nigeria. By the way, take a minus 1.5. Nick, Nicholas.
Yes, sir.
I shot an 86 yesterday at a hard course.
Very good round.
Yeah,
excellent.
So I golfed 2 days ago with Carmine at an easy course. I shot an 86 there. I think Carmine is still on the 14th hole. Like, I'm not even lying. I think he just duffed it again. I know he stopped counting, but it would have been somewhere around 140.
Yeah, he's been pinging me about clubs and what he should be getting and what kind of connections I can get for him. So I'll have to hook him up, just so we can keep up with you, Prez.
Yeah, well, look, I took a lot of lessons, man. I dedicated 18 months to figuring this game out. I couldn't break 100, and now I'm breaking 90. So, and you know what, Nick? What I learned is anybody who tells you they're consistently breaking 90 is lying. And I don't mean anybody. I mean the majority of people.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Most golfers stink, and when you get to the club level, like where you get your members at a club, the clubs love golf that are shooting around 90 because they just come out and they have fun. They like to hang out with their buddies and drink and have a good time. It ain't about playing good golf; it's about playing fun.
Well, I think the key for me, Nick, for breaking 90 is not doing edibles. The edibles were killing me. I was playing great, and then it's 4.5 hours, so I can't stay in that delicious state of mind for 4.5 hours. After about an hour and a half, I start getting the come down, and That was I was noticing in my game. It was like par bogey, par bogey, par bogey. Edibles run out. Double bogey, triple bogey, double bogey, triple bogey. So I have made an adjustment. Okay, who's going to win
Great.
the Open?
Good question. There are a lot of big names, of course, that you could bet on, but I didn't come on the show, Prez, to tell you to bet on Rory McIlroy or Scotty Scheffler. I wanted to give you the sexy pick, who I think has a pretty good chance, and I just think is priced incorrectly this week, and that's Wyndham Clark, who is the reigning U.S. Open champion, and you can still get him at 60-1 here at the Open. I was on him last week for a top 20 in Scotland, which he was right there. Then he bogeyed 3 of the final 5 holes. He fell outside of the top 20 by 1 shot. So he knows links golf well enough where he can play. He did play here last year, not at the same course, but in the Open, and made the cut. But the real thing here with Clark that I like is just his consistency. If you go back now 21 starts, Clark has missed the cut just 1 time. In a more recent sample size, over his last 11 starts, he's got 5 top 10 finishes, including 2 wins. 8 of those were top 25 finishes. So the guy is competing. He's there near the top. And when you're betting outrights, you want a guy that's somewhere within striking range on Sunday to give you a chance. You just don't want that guy that's obviously missed the cut or way back going into the final round because they just have nothing to root for. And really, I compare him to, you got a guy like Patrick Cantlay or you got a guy like Xander Schauffele. They're in the 22 to 25-1 range. Yet neither one has ever won a major. Clark has. Neither one has won in over a year. Clark's won twice in just the last 6 weeks. So the price to me, I'm surprised we're still seeing it. So I like Clark a lot to do with his price, but he's playing as well as anybody, and he smashes it off the tee. It's going to be important to drive the ball well this week. So I like his price. I like his form coming in, and he's a proven winner on the big stage. So 60-1. 60-1,
Nick,
Prez.
Take it. I know you want to talk Tommy Fleetwood and Brian Harman, but I'm not letting you off the hook. We are talking Rory. And listen, here's my take on Rory. Look, plus 750 to win, plus 800, give or take, whatever it is at your particular book. You know, one might think those are short odds, but Nick, it's been his putting that has let him down over the last couple of years. Last year at the British Open, he 2 putts go in, he wins the tournament. He had the same problem at the last major, at the Masters, where he just couldn't close out. Every part of his game is world-class right now except his putting, but we did see those balls sink last week when he finally won a tournament. He's got to come into this Open. This is a Liverpool where he's won before. His short game and long game is exceptional. If the putts go down, I think Rory can win this. And at plus 750, plus 800, I mean, is there any value here?
Yeah. Him, Scotty and him are priced very similarly. If you take him in an outright market, obviously you're not fully handcuffed, but you're limiting yourself. If you take a lot of guys in the 40 to 50 to 60-1 range, you can maybe put 4 or 5, maybe even 6 on your card. But if you're at Rory's level, you're probably playing 1 to 2 really to kind of get your value back out of an outright, which is fine. You can also look at him. I expect him, even if he doesn't win, like if you said, if he doesn't make the putts, he's going to play well enough. He's going to be in the top 10. He's going to be in the top 5. So you could put a bigger number on a top 5, and they can get him top 5, probably plus 150 or so. Yeah. And put something on him on the outright. Now, at least if he's finishing a 3rd or 4th, which I'd be very surprised, honestly, if he doesn't, you've got a big return on a bigger bet on that top 5, and you can still kind of sprinkle around a few more guys on the outright market. But I think he's still got decent value.
Speaking of the outright market, you've got 2 leaderboard picks for us. I hand the mic to you.
Yeah, I got a couple guys here. Tommy Fleetwood, I'm looking at a top 10, and I joke because I just refuse to bet him on the outright market because he just has proven that he can't win. But he's got 3 top 10 finishes in his last 4 starts. He's finished in his last 8 starts. He's made the cut 6 out of 8, and all the ones that he made the cut, he finished no worse than tied for 18th. So as long as he makes the weekend, he should be up near the top. He has 3 top 12 finishes in the last 4 Open Championships, Prez. And if you include the Scottish Open just last week, he finished tied for 6th and tied for 4th each of the last 2 years. So he's clearly knows how to play links golf. He's in England. He knows what he's doing over there. And he's the only player on tour this year that ranks in the top 30 strokes gained tee to green, approach, around the green, and putting. So he is well-rounded. I'd be very surprised if he is not near the top of the leaderboard on Sunday, but I don't know if I'm going to bet him to win just because he hasn't really proven he can do that.
Yeah.
And the other guy I like kind of for similar reasons, Brian Harman, who probably will get some action this week because he's been in a good form. You can get him right now top 20, better than 3-1. I've got him as high as plus 360. He's finished inside the top 12, 3 straight starts. His putter's gotten hot. His approach numbers have really been good the last few weeks, and that's what's gotten him, because he was kind of struggling earlier this year, but that's gotten him back to it. He finished tied for 12th last week in Scotland in those tough conditions, and the last 2 opens, tie for 6 and tie for 19. So he's not a bomber. I have a lot of bombers on my card this week, I noticed, but he's kind of a shorter hitter that hits the fairway. Again, hitting the fairway, at this course is going to be tough because you find a fairway bunker, it's basically a punch out, and you find this fescue grass is a lot thicker than you see on dry years because it's wet over there right now. So it's going to be important to hit the fairway. He does that almost better than anybody. So I like Brian Harman top 20. I like Fleetwood top 10 this week. I don't know if either one will get enough there to get the win, but I think they'll be up at the top on Sunday.
Nick Borman, everybody. Nick, are you scratch golfer or 1-2? What are you?
2 right now. I was scratch. I was on plus 1 in college, but I don't play as much now. The kids take up the time, but I still get out there and I can poke it around.
Yeah, +2 as a handicap. That's unbelievable. Nick, this course, how does it set up? I mean, you have a guy like Victor Hovland. Okay, he cannot seem to win the big one, but he seems to win day one every time.
Sure.
How does this course set up for Ricky and Victor? Brooks might not be the perfect course for Brooks. But is this target golf?
Yeah. This week, what's odd this week is a lot of these majors, putting is such a huge part of winning a major. This week, the Open Championship kind of puts out a daily update to the players and to everybody, kind of like what the greens are stimping and the firmness, how that's measured, and they're slow. That's the one thing about the Open Championship is greens are slow, and that kind of the guys aren't used to playing on slow greens, so it kind of, in my mind, takes away some of the skill or it kind of, I'll call it, levels the playing field on putting, and that brings out the importance of ball striking even more. So yeah, again, I think off the tee is probably one of the most important things to look at this week. Of course, hitting the greens and getting yourself in position to make birdies is always going to be important. But if you are not in the right position off the tee, and again, you find those fairway bunkers or you're in that fescue, you're hoping to make bogey at that point. So I think off the tee is the most important, but listen, it's kind of redundant to say, but ball striking is always going to win tournaments. Yes, you got to make a few putts, but I don't see a huge advantage one way or the other on known as good putters. So Brooks Koepka's Fowler, who's striking the ball very well, and you said it before, Rory. Scotty's the best historical right now, and you haven't seen numbers like anybody compared to Tiger Woods since that until now. So those are your best ball strikers. They'll be near the top at the end.
Where are you, dude? I mean, what a gorgeous background.
I'm in Atlantic City, New Jersey, Atlantic City Country Club.
So you're at the Atlantic City Country Club. Guys, take a lesson from Nick if you want to become a great golfer. He is a golf pro. Where do they find you? Right now,
Prez, you get WagerTalk.com. Got this week's pack up. 5% play included in there. I only have 4 of them this year, 3 and 1 so far. And we're doing a promo where this week's pack is $29, or you can get the rest of the season, which the FedEx Cup playoffs, the Tour Championship ends basically the last week of August. So it's 6 tournaments, 6 weeks left for just 9. So it's been a great year, up over 60 units, 9 outright winners. Hit it last week at the Barbasol, Vincent Norman, 22-1. So on a good run there, and hopefully we can deliver this week, of course, and a couple more times before the season ends.
Man, hitting a 22-1. That's just stunning, brother. I had a 70-foot putt yesterday for a bird on a par 4. Total fluke. Anyway, Nick, loved having you with us, brother. Guys, take advantage of Nick's package, $99. You get all the rest of the season's golf all the way into August, 6 more tournaments. He's up 74 units of profit this season, and he's had 9 outright winners. Nick, thanks for joining us. Guys, what an outstanding show. Super fun. I could talk golf all day. Shout out to Adam Trigger and Tony Finn, as well as Nick Borman, tomorrow's show, Ralph Michaels, Andy Lang, and Art DeCesar. Guys, if you have a question for the BS segment, please put it up in the comment section of our YouTube video. I'm running out of questions. I'll start making questions up soon. So please, if there's anything that you want us to answer, the only thing I don't want you guys to do, and a lot of you are doing it, is asking questions about games on that particular day, because ultimately we only see the questions after the show goes live, and then that game is over. So we can't answer that question. But ask anything you want. We will answer it to the best of our ability. For Dan, our awesome producer, and everybody at Wager Talk, see you tomorrow.